Hello, assalamu alaikum. Can you guys hear me? Should be able to. Okay. Well, inshallah ta'ala, we are going to begin. So we start with Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala wa ba'du. Okay, now because of what happened on Sunday, in which the recording didn't go down the way that we had hoped, qadarallahu ma sha fa'al, that we decided to do that class over here, the general classes, and then only focusing, or the only thing that will be different is the last book of Fiqh, Tuhfatui-Mulook. And then for next Sunday, it will be new material covered for that class, except for the main book specific for that class, which is, I do believe, Sarah for that day. Okay, so going on. So for some of you, this will be review. If you were there for the Sunday class, for some of you who weren't there, then this will be new material. So anyway, we start with Tafseer Saturday, in which we've reached to the 17th ayah, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, إن يوم الفصل كان ميقاتا يوم ينفخ في الصور فتأتون أفواجا وفتحت السماء فكانت أبوابا وسيرت الجبال فكانت سرابا إن جهنم كانت مرصادا للطاغين مآبا لابثين فيها أحقابا لا يذوقون فيها بردا ولا شرابا إلا حميما وغساقا جزاء وفاقا إنهم كانوا لا يرجون حسابا وكذبوا بآياتنا كذابا وكل شيء أحصيناه كتابا فذوقوا فلن نزيدكم إلا عذابا. All right, so that's what we're going to cover today, inshallah ta'ala, those ayats, which is about 10 verses. So we mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he mentions what will happen Yawm al-Qiyamah when he says inna Yawm al-Fasl. Here he called Yawm al-Qiyamah Yawm al-Fasl, which is another name for Yawm al-Qiyamah, Yawm al-Fasl, like Yawm al-Taghabun, you know, and Yawm al-Ishismu, Yawm al-Hashr, and so forth. There's a lot of names for Yawm, for the day of resurrection, the day of judgment, and from it is Yawm al-Fasl. So I said that, you know, Allah is telling us now in these verses what's going to happen on that day. After we die, what's going to happen? الَّذِي تَسَاءَلُوا عَنْهُ الْمُكَذِّبُونَ. And this is what the people who deny the prophethood of the Prophet ﷺ would ask themselves about, because the people of Quraysh, the main issue that they had, the main issue of faith that they had was the issue of life after death. وَيَجْحَدُهُ الْعَانِدُونَ. So this is what they would deny, and this is what the people would blatantly disregard, those people who are arrogant and very stubborn. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that أَنَّهُ يَوْمٌ عَظِيمٌ, that this is a great day, a tremendous day. أَنَّ اللَّهَ جَعَلَهُ مِيقَاتًا لِلْخَلْقِ, and that this is a day that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made as a prescribed time, an appointed time for his creation. يَوْمَ يُنْفَخُ فِي الصُّورِ فَتَأْتُونَ أَفْوَاجًا وَيُجْزِيَ ويجزي فيه من ويجري فيه من الزعزاع والقلاقل ما يشيب له الوليد. And in this day, a lot of things will transpire that will make that will be so strenuous and cause so much stress upon the people that those who are young will start to turn gray. وَيَنْزَعِجُ لَهُ الْقُلُوبُ, and their hearts will tremble. فَتَسِيرُ الْجِبَالُ حتى تكون كالهباء المبثوث. And on this day, the mountains will be crumbled in such a way that they'll turn into dust and disappear. وتشقق السماء حتى تكون أبوابا. And the heavens will split apart as if there were doors being opened. ويفصل الله بين الخلائق بحكمه الذي لا يجور. And Allah on that day, subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will judge between His creation with His ruling, with His judgment that does not oppress or would not transgress boundaries. وَتُوقِدُ نَارَ جَهَنَّمَ الَّتِي أَرْصَدَهَا اللَّهُ وَأَعَدَّهَا لِلطَّاغِينَ وَجَعَلَهَا مَثْوًى لَهُمْ وَمَآبًا. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will light the fires of hell that on that day and stuff. When He will bring it close and prepare it for those people who have transgressed. And He will make it an abode for them in a place of return. وَأَنَّهُمْ يَلْبِثُونَ فِيهَا أَحْقَابًا كَثِيرًا. And that those people, they would stay in the depths of hell for ahqaba. And ahqaba is the plural of haqab. على ما قاله كثير من المفسرين 80 سنة. And one haqab, a haqab, this is a time period, a time span. And a haqab, as some of the or a lot of the scholars of Tafseer have said, it means 80 years. And this is just a way of expressing that they will be in there for a long, lengthy amount of time. وهم إذا وردوها لا يذوقون فيها بردا ولا شرابا. أي لا ما يبرد جلودهم ولا ما يدفع ظمأهم. And when they go into it, they will not taste therein anything that is cold, nor will they have anything to drink. And what this means, as the Sheikh explains, is that they will not have anything that will cool their skin, their flesh, from the fire, nor will they have anything to fend off their thirst. Illa hamima, except the only thing they will have to fend off their thirst is hamima. And hamima ma'un harra. And the Sheikh explains what hamima is. He says hamima is water that is hot. يشوي وجوههم ويقطع أمعاءهم. It is water that will burn their face and cut up their insides. وغساق وهو صديد أهل النار. Another thing that they will have to drink is a غساق or غساق. And this is pus from the people of hell. الذي هو في غاية النتن, which is going to be very repugnant to the utmost. وكراهية المذاق, and we have a very bad taste to it. وإنما استحقوا هذه العقوبات الفظيعة جزاء لهم ووفاقا على ما عملوا من الأعمال الموصلة إليها. And the reason why these people deserve this punishment, because of what they used to do. It's in retribution to what they used to do, and it's an appropriate punishment for what they did in this life that would bring them to the point that they're at right now. وَلَمْ يَظْلِمُهُمُ اللَّهُ وَلَكِنْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُم. And Allah is not the one that is wrong or wrongs them, but they, of course, have wronged themselves. وَلِهَذَا ذَكَرَ أَعْمَالَهُم. And that is the reason why their deeds were mentioned here. التي استحقوا بها هذا الجزاء. The deeds that was the reason for them getting the punishment or getting the reward in which they have gotten. فقال إنهم كانوا لا يرجون حسابا. And what is the deed that it is that they used to do? Allah explains that they did not hope that there would be a day of account, or there will be any account. أي لا يؤمنون بالبعث, which means that they did not believe in the day of resurrection. وَلَا أَنَّ اللَّهَ يُجَازِيَ الْخَلْقِ, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward His creation بِالْخَيْرِ وَالشَّرِّ, whether it be good or bad. فَلِذَلِكَ أَهْمَلُوا الْعَمَلِ لِلْآخِرِ. And that is the reason why, because they did not believe this, they didn't think about working for the hereafter. وَكَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا كِذَّابًا. أي كذبوا بها تكذيبا واضحا صريحا وجاءت البينات فعاندوها. And what this verse means, وَكَذَّبُوا بِهَا آيَاتِنَا كِذَّابًا, and they disbelieved a severe or to the utmost in our signs, meaning that they disbelieve in the verses and the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a way that was clear and apparent and frank. So when the signs came to them, they were stubborn in their non-adherence to it. وكل شيء من قليل وكثير وخير وشر أحصيناه كتابا. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he goes in deeper into the deeds and stuff like that of the people by saying وكل شيء, and everything أحصيناه كتابا, we have recorded it in a book, whether it is small or large, good or bad. A كتبناه في اللوح المحفوظ فلا يخشى المجرمون أن عذبناهم بذنوب لم يعملها. So the Sheikh here goes on to explain this, go into more details about this, saying that this means that everything we have written it in the Lawh al-Mahfuz, the prescribed tablets. So the person who has wronged himself, the criminal, he should not fear that he will be held accountable or be punished for anything except for that which he has done. وَلَا يَحْسَبُوا أَنَّهُ يُضِيعُ مِنْ أَعْمَالِهِمْ شَيْئًا. And they should not also think that any deed that they have done, it would not be present and it will not be accounted for. أَوْ يَنْسَى مِنْهَا مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ, or even the slightest thing will be forgotten. كما قال تعالى ووضع الكتاب فترى المجرمين مشفقين مما فيه ويقولون يا ويلتنا ما لهذا الكتاب لا يغادر صغيرة ولا كبيرة إلا أحصاها ووجدوا ما عملوا حاضرا ولا يظلم ربك أحدا. And in the Sheikh, he brings an ayah in which he says, and the book will be placed for them, will be given to them. And then you will see the mujrimun, the mujrimin, the criminals, they will cringe because of what they see inside of it. And they will say, woe unto us. What kind of book is this? There is nothing small or big except that it is inside. And it has been accounted for. And they will see that which they have done present therein. And your Lord will not wrong anyone. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَذُوقُوا, after mentioning the situation that's going to be in the hellfire and mentioning the reason why those people who disobey him will be in the hellfire, he then says, فَذُوقُوا, so taste. أيها المكذبون هل العذاب الأليم الخزي الدائم. So he said, taste. And the Sheikh says that, taste what? Meaning that, oh, you people who have disbelieved, taste this painful punishment that is humiliating and everlasting. فَلَن نُزِيدَكُمْ إِلَّا عَذَابًا, and we will not increase you except in torment. وَكُلُّ وَقْتٍ وَحِينٍ يَزْدَادُ عَذَابُهُمْ وَهَذِهِ الْآيَةُ أَشَدُّ الْآيَاتِ في شدة عذاب أهل النار وأجارنا الله منها. The Sheikh then goes on to say that, explaining فَلَنْ نَزِيدَكُمْ إِلَّا عَذَابًا, and we will not increase you except for in torment. It says that in every time or every instance, the pain will be increased for them. And then the Sheikh, he mentions something here that is very interesting. He says that this ayah is the most or the strongest verse dealing with the severity of the punishment of the people of the fire. And then he makes a dua for us, saying that, may Allah, he protect us from it. Ameen. So we'll stop right there, inshallah ta'ala, when it comes to Tafseer as-Sa'di. And we'll go on now to Arba'een or Khamseen Haditha. Oops. Here we go. Okay, so we're at the we're going back over the third benefit of the hadith Innama al-a'mal, which is the hadith of all actions are by intentions, in which Ibn Rajab, rahimahullah, the Sheikh Abdul Muhsin al-Abad, he's mentioning the statement of Ibn Rajab in his explanation of the 50 hadith, Jami' al-Ulum wal-Hikam, in which Ibn Rajab rahimahullah he says وهذا الحديث أحد الأحاديث التي يدور عليها أو يدور الدين عليها وروي عن الشافعي أنه قال هذا الحديث ثلث العلم ويدخل في 70 بابا من الفقه وعن الإمام أحمد قال أصول الإسلام على 3 أحاديث حديث عمر الأعمال بالنيات وحديث عائشة من أحدث في أمرنا هذا ما ليس منه فهو رد وحديث نعمان بن بشير الحلال بين والحرام بين. So Ibn Rajab he says that this hadith is one of the hadiths or a hadith in which Islam revolves around, or the religion revolves around, and it was narrated or recorded that Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah he has said that there are that this hadith is a third of knowledge. This hadith is a third of knowledge, and it plays an important role in 70 different aspects of fiqh, of jurisprudence. And it was also narrated on the authority of Imam Ahmed that he said that the foundation of Islam are upon 3 hadiths. The hadith of Umar, this hadith that we're talking about, which is called the hadith of Umar, or the hadith of intentions or actions are by intentions. Then the hadith of Aisha, which says, whoever introduced in this matter of ours that which is not from it, then it is rejected. And the hadith of Nu'man ibn Bashir, in which the Prophet ﷺ said that that which is permissible is clear and that which is haram is clear. Sheikh then goes on to say, Sheikh Abdul Muhsin حفظه he said, وقال أيضا في توجيه كلام الإمام أحمد فإن الدين كله يرجع إلى فعل المأمورات وترك المحظورات وتوقف عن الشبهات وهذا كله تضمنه حديث نعمان بن بشير وإنما يتم ذلك بأمرين أحدهما أن يكون العمل في ظاهره على موافقة السنة وهذا هو الذي تضمنه حديث عائشة رضي الله عنها من أحدث في أمرنا هذا ما ليس منه فهو رد والثاني أن يكون العمل في باطنه يقصد به وجه الله عز وجل كما تضمنه حديث عمر الأعمال بالنيات. So we just went over the speech of Imam Ahmed where he mentions the 3 hadith in which the religion is built upon. Now here Ibn Rajab he explains why Imam Ahmed says that. So he says that is because the religion, all of it goes back to either doing that which you're commanded to do or leaving off that which you're prohibited from, and being abstinent, having tawaqquf upon those unclear matters, not delving into those unclear matters. And all of those things, all of those aspects can be found in the hadith of Nu'man ibn Bashir. But that cannot be completed or cannot be fulfilled. Those aspects cannot be fulfilled except for that 2 things are present. And that is that the actions or the deeds that we do in its outer appearance has to be in accordance to the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad salawatullahi wasalamu alayhi. And this is what we benefit from the hadith of Aisha, whoever introduced in this matter of ours that which is not from it, that it is rejected. The second thing, the second aspect that has to be there and has to be present is the fact that talking about the internal aspects of the action, and that is that we intend by that action that we do the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is what is entailed in the hadith of Umar. Actions are by their intentions. The Sheikh then goes on to say, وأورد ابن رجب رحمه الله نقولا عن بعض العلماء في الأحاديث التي يدور عليها الإسلام، وأن منهم من قال إنهم اثنان، ومنهم من قال أربع، ومنهم من قال خمس أو خمسة، والأحاديث التي ذكرها عنهم بالإضافة إلى ثلاثة الأولى حديث إن أحدكم يجمع خلقه في بطن أمه، وحديث من حسن إسلام المرء تركه ما لا يعنيه، وحديث إن الله طيب لا يقبل إلا طيبا، وحديث لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه، وحديث لا ضرر ولا ضرار، وحديث إذا أمرتم بأمر فأتوا منه ما استطعتم، وحديث أزهد في الدنيا يحبك الله، وازهد فيما عند الناس يحبك الناس، وحديث الدين النصيحة. Then after mentioning this, Ibn Rajab, he started to mention and bring a lot of statements of some of the scholars speaking or in reference to the narrations or the ahadith in which they believe that Islam centers around. So there are those scholars who say that it is only 2 hadith. There are those that say that the hadith which fit this description are 4, some say 5, and so forth. And this is, and the hadith that they mention, in addition to the 3 that we've just covered, the hadith which is the hadith of Umar, the hadith of An-Nu'man ibn Bashir, and the hadith of Aisha. Some scholars have also mentioned the hadith إن أحدكم يجمع خلقه في بطن أمه, that one of you, his substance is gathered in the belly of his mother. That hadith, and also the hadith from the good of a person's Islam or his religion is leaving off that which does not concern him. And the hadith that Allah is good and he doesn't accept something except that it be good. And the hadith that none of you truly believes until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself. And the hadith, no harm and no recursive harm or repercussions. And the hadith, if you're commanded, if I command you with something, then do of it what you're able to. And the hadith, be an ascetic in this worldly life, Allah will love you, and refrain from that which is with the people, and the people will love you. And the hadith, Dinun Nasiha, and the last hadith which the scholars believe to be from those hadith which the religion is built upon, is the hadith Dinun Nasiha, and the religion is advice. So those are the different opinions of the scholars in that regard. And all of these ahadith, you will see they're inside the 50 hadith in which we're going to read about. So we're going to get an explanation of those ahadith, inshallah ta'ala. So we're going to stop right here, bi'ithnillahi ta'ala, and we're going to move on to the next book, which is our continuation of the book of Usul al-Thalatha, the explanation of Usul al-Thalatha by Sheikh Muhammad Aman Al-Jami, Hafidhahullah wa ra'ah, or Rahimahullah, I'm sorry, Rahimahullah, wa wasa'a qabrahu. I mean, okay, so we're still in the biography of Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, in which we said that he was studying with his Sheikh in Ahsa al-Majmu'i. So we go on to say, هكذا تأثر المجموعي بابن عبد الوهاب, and we talked about the influence which Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab had on al-Majmu'i. So the Sheikh then goes on to say, وأخيرا قامت قائمة الجاهلية بين المتصوفة وأمر بإخراجه فأخرج من البصرة إلى الزبير وفي الطريق لاقى صعوبة حتى كان يهلك أو يهلك من الظمأ لأنه يمشي على رجليه في الظهيرة. So after spending some time with Majmu'i, it came to be that a group, an ignorant group from amongst the people who were from those who practiced tasawwuf, from the Sufis, that they wanted to expel the Sheikh from Ihsa, and they got what they wanted because he was expelled. I'm sorry, not from Ihsa, but from Basra. So he was expelled from Basra, and he went from there to Az-Zubair. And on the way to Zubair, he met a lot of difficulty, to the point where he almost died because of the difficulty of walking. He didn't have an animal to walk with, so he was walking in the heat after being expelled. ولكن الله قيض له من يحمله على حماره معه إلى البلد فسلم ولم يهلك. فدرس في الإحساء على شيخ شافعي ثم رجع إلى الشام. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he had written that he would be saved, and Allah will put in his place someone that would help him by allowing him to ride with him on his donkey to the city. And because of this, the Shaykh subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Shaykh rahimahullah, he was saved from being from destruction due to thirst and heat. So the Shaykh, he went to Ihsa. There he studied with a Shaykh from the Mashaykh that were upon the school of thought of Imam al-Shafi'i. And after that, he went back to Sham. He went back to Syria. وتجول في بلاد الشام ولكن المصادر ولم تذكر شيوخه في الشام إلا أن زيارته للحجاز والعراق والشام والمنطقة الشرقية كل ذلك أفادته فائدة على العلم معرفة أحوال المسلمين والجاهلية التي عمت وطمت. So the Sheikh, after going back to Sham and going to different places in Sham, the Sheikh pointed out here that a lot of the different sources, they did not mention the scholars in which he studied with while he was in Sham. But what is clear and apparent that his visit to these different places, whether it be in Sham or the Gulf area, Iraq, and the western region, or I'm sorry, the eastern region, it brought a benefit. All of that brought a benefit to the Sheikh. And this knowledge in which he had gotten from those different visits is knowing the situation of the Muslims and the state of ignorance which has spread and encompassed everyone. وأخيرا قرر الشاب العودة إلى بلده للعمل فرجع فبدأ حياته العلمية في بلده حريملة. So it says the last part of his travels, he decided to return to his city. So he went back to begin a life of knowledge, of scholarly endeavors in his city حريملة. ولكنه أوذي حتى ضاق من بعد السفهاء. But what happened while he was in his city is that he was placed under attack by some of the people who were ignorant and foolish. And he became very constricted in the situation that he was in. فخرج خائفا يترقب وله أسوة من الأنبياء في ذلك. خرج إلى العيينة مسقط رأسه، أمير العيينة رحب به، والشيخ شرح له دعوته، لأن هذه دعوة إسلامية عامة تحتاج منك الصبر. إذا أردت أن تؤازر هذه الدعوة لا بد أن تؤذى. هل تصبر؟ قال الأمير إنه يصبر، فعلا صبر معه وغيره كثيرا وغير كثيرا من المنكرات، أزال كثيرا من الأشجار التي كانت تعبد. أراد الله أن تقدمت امرأة ارتكبت فاحشة الزنا، فطلبت التطهير، فاعترفت وأصرت على الاعتراف، فقام عليها الشيخ والحد، ومن هنا ذاع صيته وانتشر خبره في المنطقة، واستنكر أمراء المنطقة هذا التصرف، فكانوا يسمونه المطوع، ويقول هذا المطوع جاء بأمر جديد. وكان من أشدهم أمير الإحساء، حددوا على أمير العيينة إن لم يخرج من بلده هذا المطوع فإنه سوف يحصل كذا وكذا. فخرج وتوجه إلى الدرعية، فنزل الشيخ في بيت ابن سويلم. Okay. So what happened when the Sheikh went back to his home and gave da'wah in Huraymala? We said that he was constricted therein by the ignorant people, and because of that he had to leave. Because of the hardship that he faced there, he had to leave out of fear for his life, watching his back every step of the way. And the Sheikh mentioned that in this instance he has an example from the prophets that came before him. So when he left Huraymala, he went to Al-Uyayna, which was his birthplace. The governor of Uyayna, he welcomed him. And it is this time the Sheikh took the opportunity to explain his da'wah. He explained to the governor of Huraymala, of Uyayna, what is it that he's calling to. And his da'wah was an Islamic call in general. And this Islamic call requires that you have patience if you want to aid this call. So he said that this call, this da'wah, it's a must that you be patient upon the harms that might be inflicted upon you while upholding it. So the Sheikh asked, Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Wahab asked, will you be patient? The Amir, the governor of Uyayna, said yes, he'll be patient. And he was patient. And he was patient with him. And because of their patience, they were able to change a lot of things that were wrong. For example, they removed a lot of the trees in which the people used to worship. And during this time, and during this instance, Allah decreed that a woman would come to the Sheikh who had committed the sin of fornication. She had went to the Sheikh hoping to be purified of her sin. She acknowledged what she did, and she insisted, after acknowledging to what she did, that the punishment, the prescribed punishment, be established upon her. So with that, the Sheikh established the prescribed punishment upon her. And this issue, it spread, this news spread to all different areas. And a lot of the different governors of these different places, they viewed this to be something that was not good. And this, from this action is where the name Mutawwa came about. They used to call him a Mutawwa. And Mutawwa is still actually used in Saudi Arabia to this day to describe people that are, they believe to be extremely religious, religious to a fault. So the people said that this Mutawwa, it's talking about Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab, rahimahullah, that he came with something that is new. And the person who was mostly against, at this time, against the Sheikh and what he had done was the governor of Ihsa, who threatened the governor of Uyayna that if he did not expel this person from his city, this Mutawwa, then so and such a thing will happen. And here we'll stop, inshallah ta'ala, and we'll continue the next class from here in this book, inshallah. So far, what we've seen, we've covered already the history of the Sheikh in his talib in his younger age. We've covered now the beginning of his da'wah, the beginning of his call. What happened when he started to call the people to Tawheed? Naam. And inshallah ta'ala, now we'll get to the book of the day, the book in which this class revolves around, which is different from any other day, which is the book Tuhfatui-Mulook. And some of you might be wondering, what does Tuhfatui-Mulook mean? Tuhfatui-Mulook is a word, or you could say that it's the Muluk is the plural of Malik or Mulk. No, I'm sorry. It's the plural of Malik, which is a king. So Muluk, kings, and Tuhfa is like treasures, or it could even be considered artifacts as well. Is another way that it can be translated. I just wanted to see here if I can hold on. Wanted to see if I can get some of the graphs up. I did some graphs to help us out with the some of the issues that we're going to cover for the class. And these graphs, they're available for anyone who wants to look at them for themselves. They are available on the Google Plus community, Good Speech and Actions. Where is it? There are two graphs. One dealing with the different categories of water, which we covered, and what we're going to cover today as well. See if I can get those out. Okay, that's this. Where is it? can't remember the name of that file. Oh, I don't think it's right here. I think I saved it somewhere else. No, it should be in there. Well, while I'm looking for it, is there any questions for anything that we've covered so far? Are there any questions? Okay, I just can't remember the name of this file here. Let me see if I could get it from the okay, all right, I see. Sorry, Jeeb, I can't find it. Okay, khayr, inshallah, no problem. I mean, I could just download it from here. Or just do it like this. Okay, that'll work, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, so I want you guys to take a look at no, not that. At this. This is from the last class we had when we spoke about the characteristics or the category of water. So we have, if you remember correctly, or if you still remember from last class, we did delve into that this category is not unanimous amongst the scholars. So you have some scholars say that there's only two categories for water, and you have some scholars that say that there's three. Amongst those scholars that say that there's three, there's difference of opinion of which things fall into what category and so forth. Okay, but the three categories are here. You could see by the colors that we have here. We have tahor, which is pure water in all of its form. Now, this water can be used to remove the state of impurity, and this is unanimous in unanimous agreement that tahor ma at tahor, the water which is tahor, pure water, can be used, and this is a consensus of the scholars, to remove impurities. Then we have tahir. Now, according to the Sheikh, and so for that, tahir is of two types. Water that is tahir is of two types. It is mixed, it's water that is pure mixed with something that is pure. Or it is used water. And what we mean by used water, we mentioned that it's two categories. Water that is used for removing a state of impurity, whether it is a ghusl or wudu, or it is used in some act of getting close to Allah. And we'll discuss what that means, inshallah ta'ala, when that time comes in the bab of ghusl and stuff. Okay. Now here we say it cannot be used for removing the state of impurity. Okay, so these two types, the water that's tahir cannot be used for removing the state of impurity. So you cannot use water that has already been used, according to the Sheikh, that's already been used to remove a state of impurity. That means whether you have to make wudu or ghusl, you can't use this type of water again. So that means that if someone has already used the water to make wudu and ghusl from it, that water, the remains of that, you can't use it. Or if that water is used or if it's mixed with something that is pure, like juice or vinegar or anything like that, you can't use it according to some of the scholars. Okay. And then we have, for the third category, najis. Najis. And najis, according to the Sheikh, he divided into two categories. It is, or water, we're talking about water that is najis, is when you have a small amount of impurity mixed in, or when you have an amount of impurity mixed into a small amount of water. And the other is having a large body of water mixed in with it an impurity which changes any of its attributes. And these we're going to get into details with these things, inshallah ta'ala, when the time comes. Okay, now let's look back at the book here. Now here in the book, we're going to go into Dhabitul Kathir. What are the exact characteristics when we talk about water that is a lot? What is a lot of water? Now, we remember we're trying to here, we're not trying to get into a lot of details when it comes to proofs and things like that. But I want you to know that this issue is built upon the hadith of Qullatain, where the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا بَلَغَ الْمَاءَ قُلَّتَيْن لَمْ يَحْمِلَ الْخَبَث or la yanjus. Prophet ﷺ said that if water reaches to the amount of qullatain, which is it's a measuring system of measuring volume of water and other liquids. So it says when water reaches 2 qullah, it does not become impure. So from that we get these things now. Okay, so now here the Sheikh is going to talk about what is considered a lot of water. Okay. So he says that al-kathir ashrun fi ashrin بذراع القرباس في عمق لا تظهر الأرض بالغرف. So he says here, when it comes to the depth of the water, that it has to be 10 by 10. When we're talking about arm lengths. Okay, dhira is arm length. And the type of arm length, of course, it differs from place to place, and so he makes it specific. They're talking about the arm length or the dhira, which is used by Al-Karbas. The Karbas, I don't want to say dynasty, but them. And it is in such a way that if a person was to take a handful, that you won't be able to see the bottom. So he says that al-qalil ma dunaha. So anything less than this that is described is considered a small amount of water. Then he goes on to say, wal jari ma yadhhabu bitibnatin. It says running water is that which carries things with it, carries the soil and dirt with it when it goes. وَالْوَاقِفْ مَا دُونَهُ. And that which is considered still water is when this doesn't happen. Still water is that doesn't carry those debris and things that are inside the water with it as it goes, that they stay where they are. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to cover, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, is anwa'un najasat, the different types of impurities. Now here I did try to do a graph that would help us out with that. Okay, this right here. But before we look at that, let's read what the Sheikh he has stated. So he says here, an-najasa kullu kharijin min as-sabilaini min al-insan wa ghayrihi. So he said that impurity is anything that comes out of the two holes of a human being and other than them. So the two holes that we're talking about here is what comes out of the front private area and what comes out of the back private area. Okay, whether it be from a human or any other type, anything else, any other type of animal. إلا خرء الحمام والعصفور. Now there's an exception to this, and he's talking about the excrement of pigeons and sparrows. So the excrements of pigeons and sparrows are not considered najasa. Then he goes back to mentioning the different najasat. So he says blood, pus, if it reaches the place that has to be purified. In general, يعني في الاغتسال والوضوء. So if the area in which you have to bathe or make wudu, if the pus or the blood reaches those area, then of course you have to take care of that before you consider free of najasa. Wal khamr, another impurity according to the Sheikh is khamr, alcohol. Wal qay mil'ul fam, and vomit, the amount of that would fill someone's mouth. Wa khar'u ma la yu'kal lahmuhu min at-tur, and also the excrement of birds that are unedible. So birds that we cannot eat, their excrements are also considered impure. Yunajisul ma, and these things defile water. It makes water impure. Illa thob, but not your clothes. Hatta yafhash, until it becomes widespread. That means a little bit. If it's just a little bit, then it's not a problem. Okay, now after saying that, let's look at the chart here and see what the Sheikh is talking about. Let's look here. See if I can make that bigger. Okay, so basically there were 6 things mentioned, or 7 depending on how you want to, or even 5 depending on how you want to split these up. So we have anything which exits the 2 openings, right? Anything which exits the 2 openings, and we're talking about from anything, whether it's human or non-human. So that is impure. So urine, when you urinate, your urine is impure, and your stool is impure, and also the stool of animals and their urine is also impure. There is an exception to this, and we're talking about pigeons and sparrows. When a sparrow, these are both 2 different types of birds, so they're exempt. They are an exception to the rule. And now remember here, now some of you guys might be wondering, there are some things that I know that are impure, but they're not mentioned here. Why not? Now these things are mentioned here because they have something to do with removing the body or what is on the body of impurity, so you can be ready to pray. There are other things that might not necessarily fall into that category, because it has, even though there are impurities, but they have nothing to do with the issue of getting ready to pray, or that the water is pure and so forth in general. Okay, the next thing is bleeding that reaches a place that gets washed when making wudu. So for example, if you get cut and it's not running, that's something that you don't have to concern yourself about. But if you're bleeding to a place and you have to make, for example, a ghusl, then that is something that has to be taken care of, because that limb that is bleeding on, or the blood reaches and covers, that limb has to be washed and be freed from impurities for your ghusl to be counted as a ghusl. And also pus. Now pus has the same ruling as the blood. So it as well, if it starts, if you have an infected area and pus is coming out, pus is leaking out and stuff like that, and it reaches those areas that need to be washed for wudu or ghusl, then that is something that needs to be taken care of and is considered impure. Alcohol as well. Vomit. That is a mouthful. And this is talk. The scholars that go into this issue of vomit, whether or not it's impure and stuff, or they believe it to be impure, they're talking about not the vomit where it's just liquid. That's more similar to this, basically, more similar to saliva. They're talking about something that has in it, substance of food. That you could tell that it came from deep inside of the stomach. This is what they're talking about here. If that is the amount of a mouthful, and they use a weak hadith to substantiate this, and we'll get into that when the time comes, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And the sixth thing is unedible bird excrement. So any type of birds that we don't eat, that's not permissible for us to eat, their excrements are impure. So if that falls on you, you have to remove it from your body, your clothes. You have to remove it from the place in which you're going to pray. Now, what are examples of birds that is not permissible for us to eat? Let's see if anybody's writing anything down. Where's the is this it? No, this is it. Okay. Anyone knows? Give me one example of a bird that's not permissible for us to eat. Eagles and hawks. These type of birds, they're not permissible for us to eat. So that's pretty much it for this class, inshallah ta'ala. We covered anwa' najasat, the types of najasat that are available, and we'll stop right there, inshallah ta'ala. And the next class, we're going to cover that which is excused, the type of impurities which are excused, and you'll see that we'll get into different types of things that would work if you were studying another madhab, another school of thought, that they would have probably been included in another area and stuff like that. Any questions on anything that we've discussed? Any questions? Remember, if you want to ask a question, you could send a personal message through Google Hangouts to me, to my account, or you could type it. You could even type it here. Let me see. Somebody's no sparrows. The stink bird. Okay. I guess that's not a question, but no, we can eat sparrows and pigeons. So if that's what you're saying, they're not from the birds, which is not permissible for us to eat. Any questions? Okay, well, since there aren't any questions, we'll just close this class session up, inshallah ta'ala. So we say, Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.